Good morning everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name's Arena. If you are new here, welcome, and if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for clicking on my video and returning. I hope you enjoy my channel, and don't forget also, if you find any of my videos useful, please do like, share and subscribe, and then other people can also find my content and, you know, share the knowledge, share the information. Today's video, I wanted to do one on getting started in a sales career, because I feel like there's so much to get excited about in sales. It's an incredible career path. But I've started to reflect a little bit more on how I kind of got started, because I was certainly not someone that was made for sales, as in, like, I didn't just know I wanted to be in a sales career. And it's with experience that I really began to get drawn to it. However, I was in no way trained or kind of knew anything about sales, and I was making all the mistakes that you think of. And I want to go back to basics, because there are very sort of mindset things and, you know, just little things that I did in the very beginning that equipped me better for the industry and the career path that I was going to enter going into sales. The first thing I'm going to say is sales is tough. Like, in the beginning, unless you're incredibly fortunate to go into a company that already has, you know, the best products, and or you know, they're already very reputable and the sales just happen, or unless you're just naturally incredibly gifted in that way, it's something that takes a little bit of work, a little bit of learning, and a little bit of practice. But the number one thing that I remember starting with, and that I feel made the biggest difference in the beginning, was looking at the mindset behind sales and really working on yourself as a person. If you don't have self-belief, and if you don't understand how to handle your own mind, your own insecurities, your own sabotaging thoughts and behavior, you will find it a lot harder than it needs to be. So the number one step that I would recommend you take if you are entering sales, or if you're considering sales, or to be honest, it's not even just for sales, it's for your own self and personal development and being the best at whatever you're doing and succeeding and excelling at everything you're doing. And the number one thing is learn what the greats have shared with us. In a world like today, where everything is accessible online, where we've got Audible, where we've got Kindles, we've got, you know, everybody that's achieved the most amazing things in the world are sharing how they did it with us and providing us such knowledge. And you know, it blows my mind the access we have today into people's journeys, and how we can find out how they did it at the click of a button. So my first thing that I would say is equip yourself with knowledge and with learning. I'm going to share with you some resources, some books, and some authors that have completely changed my life, I'm going to say. And the other thing I'm going to say is, you may read one of these books one time and it may not all click in. This is what I find happens with books or learning. The first time you read something, the first time you look at something, it kind of hits, but for me at least, it doesn't hit completely. Other times it really hits, and then other times I have to go back to it a few times and I discover something new. So these are the things that I started with, but even now, if I go back to some of these, I learn something new, or I see it differently, or I see it from a perspective of, I know more now, so I understand it a little bit deeper. And the resources that I started and that really shaped a lot of what I did in the beginning, and I have to say, I was so ready for sales, I guess, that I would read some of these books and I would go out there and I would literally practice the techniques that were in the book. And I'll tell you now, you have to have balls and just go and do things. Often the things, you learn something in a book and it's never going to be a terrible thing. So the worst case scenario is it just doesn't work, but you're not going to destroy anything. You are just going to be trying things out, and that's okay. Especially if you don't really know what else to do. So I will share with you guys a few of the resources that I started off with. So the first person that I loved from the beginning of my career was Grant Cardone. If you've never heard of him, please look him up. He is, whatever you think of him, I know people get very passionate about loving or hating certain people, but the truth is, if you read his books, you will learn things. You will truly learn, because the guy has been on the ground and he's incredibly successful now, and he had some great mentors, and he shares some incredible techniques, advice, whether it's mindset, whether it's confidence, whether it's taking chances, whether it's overcoming objections, whether it's how to close a sale, how to read a customer, how to be confident, and how to be assertive. All of this stuff Grant Cardone is so amazing at. And I really remember reading his books. I think the first one that I ever read was the 10X Rule, or Sell or Be Sold, either one of those. Truly amazing books. And I don't think any book that you read is ever going to be a mistake anyway. I think you will manage to get some sort of advice from somewhere within it, but his books truly were gold to me. I learned so much, and I would read through his techniques, and I would literally go to my next appointment, or a few appointments, and anytime I got a chance, I would practice. And I quite quickly learned that a lot of the advice and the tips he gives really work. And I think this is what makes me really excited about sales, is because you can learn. It is a learnable thing. The only thing you can't learn is having a passion for it, I would say, and genuinely being interested in it, being something that you really want to get good at. You can't fake things like that. But if you are keen, I mean, Grant Cardone is an incredible resource. The other book that's an absolute classic, and I think anybody should read this, everybody should read this, regardless of what you're doing, is How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's not just a book for sales, that's a book for life. There's so much wisdom in that. And I'll be honest, the first time I read it, I was like, I don't really get it. I get it and I don't really get it. I didn't understand the magic of it. But as I've matured and as I've experienced more, especially in the world of sales, I've understood that that book is literally gold dust, and it's so much wisdom in a book. And that one's written by Dale Carnegie. I don't know how you say it, but that's his name, Dale Carnegie. And also I'm going to link these books in my description of the video, so you can check those out. Absolute must read. And the other thing I love to do is actually go to Audible and buy audiobooks, because I drive a lot now, so I love to listen on the go, and I have gone through so many books in that way. It's amazing. If you love to read, then obviously you'll have the paperbacks as well, but I will link the audiobooks as well for you guys. The next person that I would encourage to listen to or to read is Brian Tracy. Some of the material, with the slightly older stuff, let's say, it can feel a little bit outdated. So there's definitely a lot of wisdom, and a lot of it is very timeless. So Brian Tracy has the most beautiful way of explaining things, and he's very, he comes across as a very patient person, and he really explains it really nicely. I like his manner and his sort of delivery. I really love that. And the advice and the knowledge and the wisdom that he's gained throughout his whole career is unreal. And I do believe a lot of it is going to be timeless. Even the things like taking care of yourself and, putting pride into yourself and feeling good. We're in a time where everything's different to how it used. You don't have to wear a suit. You don't have to, carry the briefcase and do these sort of things that perhaps a while back they would have been the done things. Actually, that can be off-putting to people now. So it is important to understand that sales is not as traditional as it used to be. It's very different now. So we do have to adapt in that sense. But at the same time, the fundamentals of looking put together and being confident and knowing your stuff, they are forever applicable. You are not going to walk into an appointment and sit there and look like you've walked in off the street and not know what you're talking about and waste everybody's time and be disrespectful or whatever and get the sale. Those things, you might get away with that a couple of times, but those things, if you've got a great product behind you, but there are definitely a lot of fundamental things that will never change over time, because it's more of a values sort of thing and more of how you present yourself rather than specific, like wear this, speak like this, etc. And I think people embrace authenticity, people embrace uniqueness, and people want to deal with people as well. In a world, again, that's turning into, online sales and disconnected, it's really impactful when you have a great interaction with someone and when you build a great relationship with someone, and still being able to create that is a gift in itself. And I think that's why learning, working on ourselves first and foremost is very important, even before you learn the skills, the specific skills to do with sales and how to manage appointments, etc. like that, things like that. I'm sorry, I do go off a little bit, but back to it. And another book that I actually read was Way of the Wolf. It's the guy out of Wolf of Wall Street. And I was laughing because everybody was like, oh, don't learn. And that he had a lot of hate online when I was looking through these YouTube videos and things like that. Yes, I know what that whole thing that happened with him, etc., and the Wolf of Wall Street. However, it's very important to know that if you apply techniques and skills ethically, and if you have integrity, and if you keep yourself to a high standard, but you learn the skills to also apply to your already, ethical way of being, he shares in his book a lot of very useful learning when it comes to sales, when it comes to speaking to people, when it comes to managing objections, when it comes to doing a successful presentation. All of these things, I truly believe his book is still an amazing resource if you are learning about sales. And yeah, obviously take the good bits, but don't be, don't do the things he did. Although I don't think those things really would work great these days. But yeah, just take that with care. All of these resources, and there's many more. I mean, if you just Google the best-selling books or like the most impactful selling books of all time, you'll be able to find lots of resources. These are some of the people that I started with in my journey and that really impacted the way I practice and did things in my appointments to try things out. The other thing I'm going to suggest is that you look around you and see who has achieved, who is consistent, who gets a lot of sales, who's doing very great, very well in their sales career, and try and learn from them, spend time with them, go on the road with them, observe them. One of the best things I also did was I was very eager to learn. I didn't go into this thinking I know everything and I'm going to make so much money. I went into it thinking I know nothing, and I really want to learn how other people are doing the great things they're doing. And just be careful not to get stuck with the people that don't know things and kind of do too much with those people, because it's like the blind leading the blind. Yes, things will get tough, so you feel like you want to be closer to those people so you can overcome the tough things. But I find in sales, you also come across people that have a bit of a victim mentality. And if you stay around people where they blame other things and they've got excuses, you will find that you kind of join that tribe and you won't progress in your own career. It's, you have to be careful about the people that you leave around that you have around yourself. Again, that could be a topic for another video, and the things to look out for in the people around you is just to make sure you're not being brought down. But yeah, the people around you, and just basically spend time with people that have already done great things. Or like if you're trying to achieve something and you know someone and you work with someone that's already very good at it, use it as an opportunity. Don't be scared. The other thing that in the beginning was really embarrassing was when I would go on the road, let's say with a manager or with someone that was mentoring me, and they would watch me do something. I hated it so much, because inside I was like, I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna get it wrong, I'm gonna be terrible at this. And number one, you've got it, like, that's how it starts. You cannot avoid that. And by avoiding that, you're really avoiding your own learning and your own progression. And I'm not gonna lie, it was awful. I hated those experiences at the time. But then as a result of that, I just learned so much. I learned both by watching other people and observing and learning in that way, but I also learned very well once I'm on, once I'm thrown in that deep end. And I think it's good to do both if possible, but even being thrown in the deep end with someone that's mentoring is a great experience. And I did learn a lot, even out of the mistakes and the sales I lost and whatever. It just, every time I came out of an appointment, especially with someone that was mentoring me, they would give me such invaluable advice. And it's a magical moment when someone can mentor you in the right way for you. One of the most amazing things that my sort of mentors throughout my career have done, and if you've met me and if you've worked with me, thank you so much. I mean, I don't think I can ever express the gratitude for those that have taken that time with me. But one of the most beautiful things was when I would feel, like it was a disaster, because I'm very hard on myself. And then my mentor would say, well, it wasn't a disaster. There's maybe a little thing here, and perhaps work on this and perhaps work on that. That was a beautiful way of managing me without, being terrible to me, because I think some managers can rule in a very different way, let's say. So perhaps that wouldn't have worked well for me. But I certainly hated the feeling of not doing it well in the beginning. But once I took that feedback on board, and once I understood this was for my own progression and to grow in that field and in the skills that I'm building, then I kind of learned to look at it in that way. Basically, just look at feedback as a tool to learn and get better. And yes, it's gonna hurt, yes, it's gonna be embarrassing, yes, it's gonna be awful. You cannot, there's no other way around that. And if you try and avoid that, you're just not going to grow. So yeah, having a good mentor is really important. Also, what helped me in the beginning is having, the other thing I like about sales, just back to this point, is you have targets, you have metrics, let's say, and it gives you something to work towards. And I'm one of those people that I have to have that to keep me fired up. If I don't have something to work towards, I can get a little bit pulled in too many directions. I don't know what's going on, and I don't feel as good as I would like to feel. So that for me is quite an important thing. And I think obviously I'm quite a competitive person as well, which helps because I love to have those metrics. But having an idea of where you're heading is also really important. So when you start in sales, it's important to give yourself a little bit of a target. Obviously, companies are very good at giving you these things already if you work for a company, and have it clear in your life what you're working towards. I work very well like this. When I create vision boards, or like goal boards, or whatever you want to call them, but I have a big calendar and visual goals. So perhaps I want to get 10 sales a month, or I don't know, I want to be best-selling employee, or whatever it is. For me, it works to put it somewhere that I'm going to see every day, and every morning I can work towards that. But it just refreshes in my mind why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm doing the hard stuff as well as the easy stuff, because some things truly, sales is hard, man. Sales is tough. In the beginning, especially, sometimes you get a bit lucky, but it is hard. So it's great when things are going good, and it's an amazing it's amazing feeling. It's like an adrenaline rush. But when things are tough, things are tough. You are alone. That's the other thing in sales, is it can be very, very lonely, and not a lot of people will understand the mind of a salesperson, the mind of someone that's chasing things, that's loves to have goals, loves to have targets. People struggle with that if they're not in that way sort of wired themselves. So when you're going through tough periods, it's hard unless you've got the right people around you that get it. It's hard to find anybody who really understands how to relate to you when you feel low, when things aren't going well, when you have to remotivate yourself. In fact, at the beginning around me were the sort of people that were like, well, don't worry about it. It will come back around. Things go up and down. And yes, there's a truth to that. Don't get me wrong. You can't take it all. So there's a balance to it all, yes. But a lot of people tell you to not worry about it because they don't really care about it. It's not their target. It's not their career. It's not their success that they're talking about. So they're not going to have that passionate take on it. And I think people thought I was crazy when I moved from a clinical background to sales, because I was making really good money working in a surgery and in a dental surgery, and I made so much money, but it just didn't feel like the right career path for me anymore. So nobody could understand why I would let go of such security and such a comfortable working environment, the 9 to 5, and you could go home and, have that balance a little bit better. But for me, I have a drive within me. I'm a very, I like to move and I like to do things I'm passionate about, and I want to feel like I can be 100% in the place I'm in, if that makes sense. So anyway, a lot of people don't really understand that way of thinking, so they don't get it when you go through low points. It's great if you have people around you in your own company and you can relate and you can communicate and you can kind of overcome these things together. That's great. But if you don't have that, you have to build a life and build an environment where you can help yourself through those periods. For example, do communicate with your management, do communicate that you're really struggling in certain areas, and ask them for help. Because in the beginning, it's the most beautiful thing about the beginning is you can do that. You can keep asking for help. They're there to support you and to guide you through what it takes in the beginning of a sales career. And as long as they're aware that you are beginning a bit of a new challenge and you're very eager to do it well, it's perfectly fine to ask for help. So yeah, that's very important. And also, read, like I said, join courses, go on courses. If your company is sending people on courses, get yourself out onto those courses. If there are mentorship programs, get yourself in those programs. Just anything you can do that's going to help you get better and that's going to keep you around people that also want to get better. I think that's the best way to overcome the tough periods. Yeah, I can't think of anything else now, but really in the beginning, it's just all about, the other thing is don't put too much pressure on yourself. I know I do. I know I'm the worst person in the world for putting so much pressure on myself and not even being able to think, yes, it's a quiet period, they come and go. I still, even now, I'm like, I am not sitting and rolling with it. So I'm very, very tough on myself. But in the beginning, it is okay to get it wrong. And also, it's okay to ask for help. And it's okay to say, I'm not sure what I'm doing right or what I'm doing wrong here. Can I have a little bit of mentorship? Can I have meetings with people? Can I observe? Can I go out with this person? Can I go on this course? Can I pick someone's brain about things? Do that. Please do that. It's really, really important. And I hope that's helped. And if you have other tips for myself, for the viewers, for anybody, please comment underneath this video and share with myself, share with everybody. And I hope that was useful. Enjoy the books that I recommended. I will link them in the description box of this video as well. And I look forward to seeing you guys in my next one. Take care, guys.